Hello, out there on the internet. Just looking at the numbers, the broadcast here on Restream. We appear to be active on most or all of the platforms we're supposed to be on. And let's see. Yeah, so this is David Rovix, and this is another of my pretty much daily these days live stream broadcasts. If you are watching on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, VK, LinkedIn, or Twitch, and that's where we are. And if you're having trouble with the reception on one of those platforms, then I recommend Twitch. Usually it has the least problems. Twitch.tv/David Rovix, where you can find this and all the other broadcasts from the past couple weeks before they disappear. But yeah, and just take a moment, if you would, to share the window, whatever it is you're looking at, whatever platform you're on, share it with folks if you want to tell them that it's happening, because it is a live stream. It will be up there later for posterity. What's it called? Yeah, posterity, right? But it's live, and if anybody has questions or comments, then please send them in, and I'll be able to see them, whatever platform it is you happen to be on. So yeah, let's see. And what was I going to say? I wrote down things to say, but then I started talking anyway. So today's guest is a fellow songwriter named Jim Page. Jim has been living in Seattle for most of his adult life, where I also lived on and off for a number of years. And just to be entirely forthright here, I'm a massive fan, the sort of fan some artists might rather avoid, but Jim is very tolerant. At least, he's still there. So to give Jim a very brief introduction, I think I was 21 years old when I first hitchhiked to Seattle from San Francisco, near where Jim grew up, incidentally. Soon after I got to Seattle, I was taken to the Pike Place Market, and there was Jim busking on the sidewalk. It was, for me, a mind-blowing experience on many levels, looking back. I was, at that point, already a fan of Bob Dylan and Phil Ochs, and I was familiar with the work of many of their ilk. But here was someone only slightly younger than those guys, whose normal material was easily as good as anything they ever wrote, and whose best material stood a full head above any topical songs I had ever heard. But here he was, playing for an appreciative audience of a couple dozen people packed around him on the sidewalk, blocking it completely to passersby. Over the decades since then, I've seen Jim mostly at either protests or festivals, up and down the West Coast and occasionally on the East Coast, and once in Texas. Years into my own project of becoming a Jim Page cover artist, I discovered to my delight that in Ireland, many people actually knew some of the Jim Page songs I was singing, but they thought they were written by somebody else. During these times of pandemic and quarantine, Jim has been doing a weekly Thursday live stream show from his home in Seattle at 5 p.m. Pacific time that he's been calling Live from the Bobcat Den, which is where he is now. You can find it if you search for Seattle Jim Page on Facebook. Jim, welcome to my little live stream show.
Hey, David, thanks. Good to be in the rabbit burrow,
The rabbit burrow. Yeah,
right.
We're in the rabbit burrow, or the mole hole or something.
The mole hole, there you go. The hole in the sock. Actually, I do two live streams. I do one, one at 5 o'clock on Thursday and one at noon on Monday. Because, you're talking about Ireland. I got friends in Ireland that were saying, I can't watch it, man. It's too late. So, noon in Seattle is 8 o'clock in Ireland. So there you go. It's nice.
That's a great solution. That's actually exactly why I do these broadcasts at 10 a.m. Because it's a good time in Europe. But for the Australians and the Japanese and stuff, it's terrible. You can't please them all.
You can't please them all. Yeah, they need to move here, to be honest with you. No, but yeah, that's but we do the best we can.
So how's quarantine treating you? That's always my first question. It's normally, how are you, is a pretty boring question, but at the moment it's of great interest, I think.
Well, to be honest, you and I are both privileged enough to be able to do it. A lot of people in the world can't do it, and we kind of don't pay attention to that. A lot of people in America can't do it. They got to get out, they got to work, they got a lot of people living in those rooms, that sort of thing. So it's kind of like, You know, you got a rich guy in his yacht out there in the bay. What's his name? He's a record mogul, recording industry.
Yeah,
mogul
Geffen.
Yeah,
Geffen.
Right? He's on his
but
yacht out there.
He has a staff of 45 on his yacht. That's not very.
I'm quarantining myself. I'm self-isolating. Yeah, right. You got your staff and that other stuff. But there are people in the world that can't. So yeah, I mean, it's you do get a little crazy. You get on each other's nerves. I can't really, but I got my bicycle. I go out and I ride, and I go out for walks. I just keep my distance from everybody and everything. I walk down the middle of the street. You know, I mean, I'm in maybe a little bit of paranoia, but this is a serious deal. So, and there's no telling how long that's going to last. The live streams have been good for revisiting a lot of old material that I, don't really do. And I've been looking through them and saying, songs are pretty good. Maybe they need a little touch up here and there. Maybe they need a verse change. Maybe they need a groove change so that it's more expansive and fun to play, that sort of thing. And I've been doing that. And nobody can see a music stand when it's out of the way of the camera, so you can have the lyrics there just in case you need to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun for that. I wish. Well, I don't wish. It is what it is, and we have to pay attention to people that know more than we do. And I'm not one of those people that absolutely will not listen to authority. I choose what authorities to listen to. There are people that know what they're talking about, and I will do what they tell me to do. When the house is on fire, I will leave the way the fire department tells me to. I will not say, you tell me to leave, I'm going to stay right here. I don't do that. So anyway.
I was at a protest one time in Copenhagen. It just reminds me what you're talking about there, because it was like there were, I don't know, maybe several hundred punks blocking a bridge in Copenhagen on a regular Thursday march they were having at this after this squat was raided. And there was an ambulance coming, and there was like a very small police escort, and you could see the police freaking out. They were clearly freaking out because they thought that we were going to not let the ambulance cross on the bridge, which of course, as soon as people realized that the siren was not a police car but an ambulance, everybody got out of the way, like immediately. Nobody needed to say anything. It was obviously the thing to do. But yeah, you listen to some authorities. No,
you do. I mean,
but then of course, as you're saying, like there's so many people who are working in these expendable essential jobs, who are out in the streets and out working and taking crowded subways, and then I'm in touch with somebody in the Philippines, and people are saying stay home, but there's no food. You can't stay home when there's no food.
Everybody can't stay home. And I like the way you say expendable essential, because that word essential has it has a location ascribed to it. It's like it's a class location. It's not.
Yeah. Essential for whom?
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, it's essential for the family of somebody living in a favela to go out and, to go out and work, to leave, and then come back home with whatever they picked up when they were out there. And the only, I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But so far as I can tell, just by looking at it, there's only two choices. One is that we go through it and we get to the other side and we rebuild with a sense of we, rather than you and me or them or whatever. Yeah. It has to be an us. Or it's just kind of whittled down to a few very rich people that are left. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's really kind of Hollywood negative stuff.
It really actually seems like like what you're saying. Like I mean, I've been saying this like a broken record, but to not for you, but to some other people. But last week I saw a movie. Me and Reiko saw a movie called Shin Godzilla, which is a 2016 sort of remake or whatever, but like another Godzilla movie, basically. Movies. Oh yeah, and this one. As with the original Godzilla movie, this was a brilliant political commentary, and the original Godzilla movie was basically all about atomic bombs, and this one was basically about Fukushima. But in this one, in 2016, this remake, it's basically like they are debating, the politicians at various levels of government are debating throughout the movie. It's a monster movie, but much of it happens in closed doors without windows, and a bunch of guys in suits talking about government policy, right? And so you're going between these closed doors and the monster destroying Tokyo, you know. But behind these doors, what they're debating is, should they use a nuclear bomb to destroy Tokyo and the monster at the same time, thus saving the Japanese economy in so doing? You know, because if they actually like fight the monster and like let him go over Japan and targeted whatever and do whatever it's going to take, like, it might take months, and the economy, what's going to happen to the economy? So they, you know, but in reality, as it turns out, it seems to me, actually, the capitalist governments of the world, actually, when it comes to a random selection of people, even if it's more poor people than rich people who are going to die from a pandemic, they actually are capable of shutting down capitalism. And I'm very surprised, and I don't know if you are or how many other people are, but I mean, China had to set the example first, but it's still amazing to me.
Well, I've seen this sort of thing before, because yes, it's a capitalist country, and yes, the people that live in it or work in it or have government positions are, you know, painted with that brush, but they're all human beings. And when push comes to shove, other people matter to them, not to everybody. There's a bunch of sociopaths out there who have a dear leader, and there are a bunch of very seriously deluded people who also have a dear leader. They just don't understand what they've gotten themselves into. But most people, I think, anyway, actually care about each other. And the trappings of, you know, because when capitalism is really successful, that's when people are grabbing things, and you wind up with the Jeff Bezos, who, I mean, he gets the success maybe from a downturn, but he winds up being a shining example of successful capitalism. When it's not successful in that sense, we have a better chance of embracing our humanity, and that's what people do. And you know, it's like watching the governor of New York. You know, it's like I look at him, I thought, oh my God, I want him for my president. The guy is just, and he just talks right back to Trump, you know, and it's like, and this is like, it's very interesting. He cares about his family. He cares about, this is interesting stuff, because these are the seeds that show us that we're not wrong. We sometimes, everybody does. You get caught in language, you get caught in semantics, you get your feet tangled in somebody's book that has too many footnotes. But in the end, when you get down to it, we're not wrong. We know what we're talking about. We know where we want to go, and we're not wrong. And I think the only way we can get through this is by embracing our shared humanity, and that includes recognizing class, because that keeps us from knowing each other, and it keeps us using each other and being used. And if I really recognize the humanity of that person over there who's mowing my lawn, you know, I live in Santa Monica, and this person is mowing my lawn. If I really recognize that person's humanity, I have to come down and that person has to come up, and we have to level ourselves. I think we can do that. I'm an optimist. I've been an optimist my whole life. Maybe, well, I get depressed like everybody else, but maybe it's because, you know, I'm privileged. Maybe it's because I don't know, but I'm an optimist. I think we can be better. I think we get used. And I think you can make people do bad things. Getting a little closer to the mic, I think that sounds better. This is Mike, by the way. What do you call yours? Do you have a name for that one?
I think that you're being picked up by the headset mic that you've got on right now.
I don't have a headset. Really?
I think so, but it sounds great. I mean, compared to what it
should get really loud there right now. Right. That's the Yeti.
Right,
that's
and
what
I
don't.
No, back up now. Say
back
something.
Up there, so. I'll tell you what I can do.
Yeah, maybe it's picking. Maybe both are picking up, because you're loud and clear right where you are. You're loud and clear. Yeah, totally loud and clear.
All right,
also, this platform we're using has a good compression system for everything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that was a rambling answer for a very simple question. Sorry about that.
Somebody said, no, we like rambling answers. Somebody who is watching on Twitch, Logan Anderson, says the Great Depression days come to mind when Al Capone opened soup kitchens.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about his opening soup kitchens, but yeah.
Me neither.
I was reading a thing on The Guardian, which is my start page when I start up in the morning. And it was about people living in the favelas in Brazil. There's like 17 million, or there's 70 million or something. My number's mixed up there. And they can't self-isolate. They can't keep social distance because you've got so many people. There you are. And the first people that came around and did the announcements that people have to do the social distancing and that this is, and please try and please not leave your house. The first people that did that were drug gangs.
Right.
We've got to understand this, that the people, it's just whatever. It's, what I'm saying. It's like, just because somebody joins a drug gang doesn't mean they're, it doesn't mean they're Dick Cheney.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, there's all kinds of reasons people form organized networks in a neighborhood. Yeah. Right. And they can serve many different functions. Yeah.
Right. There's a great story in Mike Davis's book. Hold on.
City of Quartz?
No, the other one that came after that. The Ecology of Fear. Ecology of Fear. A great story and he talks about this very thing, where entire villages have relocated from Guatemala to an old apartment building in Los Angeles somewhere. The entire village. Or at least an extended family from the entire village have located to a whole floor. So there's people sleeping everywhere on top of each other because that's how they can afford it. And so there they are. And there was a fire, and those are like fire traps. And there was a fire in one of those buildings. And I bring it up because it's a great story. I was going to do a song about it, but it never happened for whatever reason. Because a local Crip, 96th Street Crip, something like that, became a hero by running into the burning building and saving a child. So there you go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Absolutely. So, yeah. And there's loads of stories like that.
Yeah, loads of stories. Yeah.
And we're going to be hearing lots more of them in the near future, I'm sure. Yeah, but so it seems like, when you're saying we're not wrong, it does seem like, we like that if we were going to come down to the most fundamental, like, what is it that we're talking about that we're not wrong about? Like, it is, perhaps when, Margaret Thatcher said there's no such thing as society, and this is actually, the evidence.
That was wrong. Sorry.
That was wrong. Yeah, that was wrong. And the correct answer to the question of whether there is such a thing as society is yes. There is.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And I maintain, I'm a really annoying person. I maintain that each of us are who we are because of the society we grew up in. We are molded by, and we in turn mold that. It's very much a symbiotic relationship. That's why I think, this is just me, on Marx, I visited Marx's grave, and last time I was in London, and whatever. And that famous quote is on this big monument that some, left-wing political group put up with this bust, and it said, up until now, philosophy has just explained the world. The point, however, is to change it. And I don't have the words exactly right, but the point, however, is to change it is correct. And I agree with that. And that doesn't even imply anything. That doesn't imply force. It doesn't imply regimentation. It doesn't imply cops. It doesn't imply anything. It doesn't. When you think about it, when you were born, when David Rovics was born, the world changed because there was a new life that wasn't there before. So everything changed. Maybe in a smaller localized way, but it did. Everything changed. So we already changed it anyway. So the point is to change it intelligently. That's the point. Yeah. That's the point. The point is how to change the world, because we're changing it anyway. You cannot not change the world. You really can't. That's impossible. Even if you kill yourself, you change it by dying. It's the question is moot. It's silly. So the point is how we want to change it. And for me, music has been a great avenue for that sort of thing. And I decided years ago that what I would do was I would put my shoulder to the wheel to help to create a musical culture. I don't write any one kind of song all the time. I get bored really easily. I'm kind of dyslexic. I'm kind of, ADD. I drive people nuts because I jump around and skip around and get bored. If I wrote a song like this last week, I don't want to do it again. I'd do something else. As I listen to country music, some of those songs don't say anything about class struggle, but that's what they're all about. Mm-hmm. It's there. You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it all the time. This is a song about class struggle. You don't have to say it. All you got to do is have that in there and it'll come out.
Did you realize that one day and decide you needed to record a CD in Nashville? Or I'm just curious, how did that happen?
No. That happened because the opportunity fell in my lap.
Right.
And, I thought, yeah, I'll do that, and I didn't have to pay for it. So I went out there and not very much anyway. So because it was part of this other thing. I had a friend who was doing a lot of background music, for these big companies that, he was paid very well, and he was able to do it in Nashville and in London. And I think LA, different places, used the studios, used the musicians, everybody got paid. And so he wanted to, and we'd been friends for years. So, I went out and I recorded these songs. And then after I left, I got all those songs. He kept them also. And then he took my voice out, and my voice was replaced with whatever, because it's shopping store music, it's, which is fine. This is, so I got to play with Andre Azan, who's like one of the most fabulous, amazing fiddle players on the planet. I just didn't know what to do. I mean, almost everything we did on that record was first take, which is astonishing. That whole thing took 2 days.
Wow.
Entire thing. And then it was mixed on the third. I mean, they just come in there and do it. They're that good. I'd heard about this all my life, but I never actually saw it. They are that good. And they're completely friendly. And the part that I was in anyway is completely racially intermixed. There's none of the, Southern sort of stuff that you might be worried about or something. I don't even know if Nashville is considered to be the South. I don't know, but man, I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. Those people were tremendous. They're great players, very open, friendly, attentive. They're sober. They're respectful. It was the first time I'd ever spent any time in a studio where it didn't degenerate into locker room boys jokes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was amazing. It was really cool. It was really sweet. And they're great players. And so, listening back to it, I listened to it a lot for a while, and then I stopped. There's a couple of songs on there that work for me. Listening back, a lot of my stuff, I would actually pay more attention to things like tempo. A lot of those things are too fast, and it has to do with what I did for years, playing on the street and playing in the rock and roll band breaks. Because one guy with a guitar, I did that for 6 years straight. I played in rock and roll bars and on the street and the campuses. The campuses were better for some things, street better for some things, the bars. But you get on the stage in a rock bar, you got a 5-piece electric band that has just finished a 45-minute set. They give you 20 minutes. 15 or 20 minutes. 3 songs is what I usually figured. 3 songs, maybe 4. You have got to achieve a similar energy level as the 5-piece band with a drummer and a bass player and a keyboard player.
Yeah.
Similar energy level.
Yeah.
Now, you can't do it with volume. You don't have a drummer. None of those things. So you do it with content and ferocity.
Yeah,
that's the right word.
Like an intensity. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Intensity or jokes or whatever. And you wind up doing things sometimes a bit faster than they should. And there's no room for any other music. People would say, oh, your songs are great, but there's no room for me to play in it. There's not supposed to be. I've got 15 minutes. I'm not going to have a blank space in there.
No.
I'd lose their attention because I got to pass the hat, because I'm the guy in the favela in my sort of weird, white people's way, because I got to pay the rent with the hat pass. So I can't lose people.
Right.
And I had a standing rule, and I never broke it. I never broke this rule anywhere when I did the hat money thing. You never ask for money. you mentioned the hat. I would finish my gig and I would say, now I'm going to come around with the hat, and that's it. And when you go around from table to table, you don't say anything to anybody. I saw people do that. I saw this one guy go around saying, I'm the guy that was just on stage. And I think if you have to remind them, and you didn't,
you didn't make much of an impression.
Yeah. I mean, so I never did it on the campuses. I never did it anywhere, so anyway, so my tempos are sometimes like too fast and that sort of thing. Cause some of those songs, when you got good players like that, they could really benefit from relaxing it a little bit. It's a different art form when you're going in the studio.
Yeah. Whole different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a whole different thing. I've been working with these other musicians around here, and we were getting ready to record when the virus hit and everything shut down. They lost the studio dates and we couldn't even get together.
Yeah. Even just recording, a small group of people, you could be separated by glass windows, but it's still indoors.
Well, you're not going to everybody can't be separated from windows. No. And, I mean, whatever,
you're still exposed
in whatever way that we do, but,
What, you had a lot of tour plans that got canceled as well?
I had tour plans and I had festivals. Yeah. And, the last summer festival just contacted me yesterday and said it's not happening.
They canceled. Yeah. They're starting to cancel now.
It was an August date, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
When you talk about, deciding that you were going to do this music thing as a means of communication, I mean, there was a few years ago, I can't remember, I read about it in BBC or The Guardian or someplace, there were scientists who were studying the impact of music on the brain. And they found that songs with music, when you communicate in song form, basically, if you're singing words rather than speaking them, then according to this study, then the words go to the emotional centers of the brain. Rather they get processed differently. Right. And it's something that I think, we've known for a very long time. Any musician has known that for a long time. It's kind of obvious, right?
Right.
But it's now proven. And I wonder, like,
thank God for that. I was doubting myself,
Like, I was never doubting myself, but at the same time, people would sometimes say, like, why did you, do you think that writing these songs and communicating in this way is actually effective? And I would say something humble. I'd usually respond in some sort of false humility kind of way, like, I hope it's effective. I'll just keep on trying it because it seems like a good idea or something. But no, it is effective. We know it's effective. It's been effective for thousands of years, and now it's scientifically proven to be effective. But I wonder, like, was there a moment when you decided, like, oh, this is actually more effective means of communication than anything else, and I'm gonna go for this?
No, not in those, not in that language. No,
right,
no, not in that way. I mean, I had a real bad stutter when I was a kid. I couldn't finish a sentence or anything, but I found quite by accident that if I held the guitar, the stutter went away.
That's also been proven, I think. This thing about music and stutters and stuff. Yeah. I saw a TV program about that.
Yeah, we have to understand. Scientists, just like bus drivers, have to work for somebody.
Yeah, okay? And they have to come up with new stuff.
Yeah, then they get assignments. I remember there was a thing in Eugene, Oregon, where, I don't even remember what it was for, but they sent people out to count all the lamp posts. I can't remember what it was for. Some of these things are just like, you're doing what? You're counting the lampposts? Don't you? I mean, whatever. It's nuts. So So scientists will prove things, and some of it's very worthy work, and some of it's just busy work. But no, it was, for me, it was a very much a communication thing to begin with, and the more I got into it, learned other people's songs, and wrote my own. I mean, I was writing songs from the beginning because that's what I came of age in. It was the 60s, and people were singing and writing their own songs. That was the great, wonderful thing about that. I mean, the music was very often just clunky and all over the map, but God damn it, they made it themselves. They wrote those songs, they arranged them, and they made them themselves.
A huge DIY.
It didn't last for very long, but it was that was the best, man. That was just the best. And so that's what I did. That's what I did. And there was always a political song on any of those records. And there was always a political song in any of those gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And if they weren't, I mean, there was a not a completely rigid like metal line between the collegiate pinstriped folk groups and the ones that would be playing in the coffee shop down the street, because we were all like, you know, the war was heating up and stuff, and we were all draft age and stuff, and so there was that. Because the ones in the college, they didn't do anything that wasn't clean, or if it wasn't clean, it wasn't clean in a way that a frat guy could laugh at it. You know, the line was porous. The difference was porous, but people wrote their own stuff and they played it. And it meant something. And it meant something. So I guess what I was leading to was, once you do it long enough, you start to realize you're building not only a body of work, but a direction. You're building a direction, and the direction isn't one arrow that goes in one direction. It's like that. You know, my fingers, it's like, it's like that. It's like, you know, it goes like that. It's like, I say spherical. I say we're spherical beings, and the music that we play is spherical as well. And it's got, and you need to raise the quality level, raise the bar on it as best as you can. I don't believe in gods or the best of anything, really. I think there is the best answer for any particular question, but most questions. But once you find the answer, the question changes. I have a whole song about that, in fact, because it does. You know, yeah. What are we going to have for breakfast? We're going to have eggs. Question answered. Now there's a new one. When should we have? You know what I'm saying? Every time you answer one, you get another one. So we're spherical. You know, we've got all these different directions that we can write and we can sing in. And if you value the humanity around you, if you make an attempt to understand the history of how the humanity around you got the way it is, and then if you further make an attempt to understand how it might progress, and then you take a stand as to where you are among those possibilities of progression, that will all come out in the songs, and you don't have to hit people over the head with it unless it suits the material. If you don't, I know you don't know what I'm talking about, you know, and the occasion, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So. What's the, would you say, I mean, I often say this, I don't know if you would agree, but that the secret in writing a good song oftentimes is actually not telling people what you think or what you feel, but just telling a good story.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I agree. But again, that depends on the song. And also I try not to even care whether the song lasts any more than 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. You know, I won't hold myself back. You know, some of the stupidest songs I thought at the time, I'm still singing them after all this time. And some of the great, they're gone. They're trash. Yeah. You know, they went out in a heap. So
would you say that, I mean, it seems to me that fairly evident to just anybody, but also for you, that this, that kind of Zen orientation, as I might call it, is pretty key to maintaining some kind of emotional equilibrium in life. I mean, some songs last for 10 minutes, some songs last for 10 years, right. And, you know, some, you know, but maybe by the same token, like there's this I don't know if it's really related, but this kind of like cup half full, cup half empty kind of thing that I think, you know, everybody deals with, but I see it among musicians. It's kind of like maybe more obvious than it is among a lot of people, because I don't know if that's true, but maybe it's just because I'm a musician. But you know, like you meet really like famous people who feel like they have not gotten famous enough and they're resentful about it, right? And then you know, and then you meet other people who are, you know, perfectly content at whatever position in life they're at, and you know, it runs the whole gamut.
Right. No, I think it's important to appreciate what you've done and just be there where that is. You know, I really do. I mean, you could get hit by a truck tomorrow and I would, you know, you don't want to go down by angry and bitter because you haven't gotten more famous or something. I mean, some of those really famous people, they can't really do what they want.
No.
You know, they have whole teams around them, you know, making sure they don't do this, don't do that. They can't record anything they want. They can't talk about anything they want on stage. There's loads of things they can't do. Yeah. You know, there's loads of things that I can't do. Everybody has constraints and everybody has avenues. So, you know, for me, it's like, don't worry about it. Just do what you can. Do what you can and make it as good as you can make it, you know?
Yeah. How do you know when you're done writing a song, Jim?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a judgment call. I used to keep at it until I basically had a couple of, a couple of verses that explained everything I just said, and then put an exclamation point and underlined that last bit. Okay, and it was really overkill. I did it for years. And if something didn't present itself, I would just go make it up. And it was mechanical, and you could tell. I could always tell anyway. You know, these days I make a judgment call. I go along. It's like I say, I get bored really easy. So the last song I wrote was very clear and coherent. So this time I want to write something which is quite fragmentary. You know, and if you do a fragmentary piece correctly, it's bigger than the other one. You know, it's trippy like that. It's trippy. So you just kind of, I have a friend in Ashland named Gene Burnett. He writes a lot of songs. He recorded 6 CDs in 1 year. Not too long.
Wow.
Yes, he writes a lot of songs. And he says, and he's right, because this is what I do too. Maybe you do. I don't know. You pay attention to what your body does. Because there's something in here. I think that's your solar plexus. Why do they call it solar? I know. Is this my molar plexus? Anyway, there's something in there that actually responds when you've hit it. It gets excited. Oh, there. It's like a door opens and it goes there. Yeah. It's the thing that recognizes doors. So leave it. Leave it there. Leave the door open. Sometimes you do. And again, it's a judgment call. You know, I don't think there's a right and a wrong. I think there's a better and a not so good. But I don't think there's a right and wrong when it comes to songs. I really don't. You can't argue with them. You can't tell them what to do. They'll beat you every time. You also cannot refuse to participate in them, or they'll go on to somebody else. So, you know, yeah. So, I don't know. That makes sense?
They'll go on to somebody else?
No, the part about making a judgment call about how long the song is.
Yeah, definitely. You just kind of know there's something that hits you when you know, this is it. This is like I've reached a point where if I tried to make this point anymore, it would be too much, and if I made it any less, it wouldn't be quite enough. And yeah, it's like so. But then there's also so many other aspects to that judgment call. It's like, okay, now the music is at the right level of like, I don't know, like this melody is nice and it doesn't need to be more complex, but if it were the way it was a few minutes ago, it would be too simple. And, you know, all these kind of, it's very subjective, but sort of not in a way. I mean, there's a subjectivity to it, but then I always figure it like it's like, then you know that, oh, this is going to have this kind of impact on other people too. Because if you've done it long enough, once it has that impact on you, then you're like, oh yeah, it's going to work for other people too. Yeah.
Right. Do you find yourself sometimes, because I do, putting a melody to a lyric which is counterintuitive? It's like, you know, you've got this horrendous lyric about a horrendous event, but you put a beautiful melody to it.
Yep. That's another great trick I've discovered only fairly recently. Like writing a song that I think is going to be kind of melodic and major sounding, and then making it all clashy and minor, even though the storyline doesn't sound like that originally. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that sort of dissonance or disconnect can actually make it better, bigger. You know?
Definitely. What's another trick I've discovered is writing a song with a chorus that kind of wraps up everything in terms of, you know, the essential point that I'm making in the song, sort of keeps on returning to this point. And then at the end, I get rid of the chorus. Have you ever tried that?
I don't think I've done that. But what I've been doing recently, which is really fun, although it's more work when it comes to memorizing the song, is changing just a couple of words in the chorus every time you sing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same all the time. It's slightly different. It's not drastically different, but it's slightly different. You know, the first time I did it because it just seemed right. And then I realized, oh God, I got to remember where that goes, because it's important and it has to be conversational. And the song that references back to itself and all that kind of stuff. I mean, those are cool tricks. And for me, again, it's because I get bored with my stuff. You know, I can't be too heavy duty. I just did a heavy duty one. I got to do something weird. I got to go over here and do this thing about a trash can that talks, you know, something like that, you know, talking trash can.
Have you found the recent period to be particularly inspiring for creative output?
No, I've written one song. It's not yet anyway. It's been overwhelmingly threatening. Oh, and it's like paying hyper attention 24/7 in all directions. I mean, for a while there, I was getting up and reading everything every day, and it was scaring the shit out of me. You know, I mean, the first thing, you know, and then of course you get all these different interpretations of it. And I have a friend who's a university professor who like reads everything and knows people in the World Health Organization and knows epidemiologists and all that. And she knows all this stuff, and she can straighten you out if you're having problems with how serious things actually are. And don't listen to that because that's crap and blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, for a while, it kind of took over my brain as far as that went, and I couldn't imagine. So I started doing the live streams just because I'd lost a gig in Seattle with a friend who was living in Iowa at the time, and a friend who lived here. Is going to be a triple bill. And we lost a gig. Everything was, you know, everything was imploding. So we lost a gig. So one of the people said, you know, let's do it online. Well, we didn't have any program or software so that we could all be together online like this, you know. So what we're going to do was just like go on Facebook. You know, she would go on, then I would go on, then he would go on. Well, the third person could never get it figured out, so that didn't happen. But the Sam went on, and she played for like an hour. She just used her phone, and that's what I used too, just the phone. And it saved me. It saved me from going over the deep end. You know, I was getting real dark and real like gloomy and real like, you know, scared, and it saved me because I was reaching out, and all these people came online and they liked it too. And it's like we were communicating. And so there's that, you know, it's like, I don't know how to explain this exactly, but being able to touch everybody all the time is only a part of intimacy. And if you pay too much attention to that, the other parts suffer, you lose them. If we can't touch strangers and give them a hug, hey, how are you? And give them, if we can't do that, then we have to get close. We have to actually get close by talking to them. Okay, which is a very important kind of intimacy that maybe we've lost over the years. I don't know. But we can. Oh, sorry, that was me bumping the desk. Here, I'll go.
Yeah, you've been bumping the desk other times, but it's only been minor. So I've been overlooking it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll overlook that. Yeah.
Khrushchev bumped his desk too, and that was very.
He used his shoe. He pounded on the UN table. I always liked that.
Me too.
Oh God, the world history. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's fucking weird. I'll tell you what's got me. And I know this is all over the map, but I just got to.
That's good. That's good.
What's got me? Yeah, you said that people like that. What's got me going around the last little bit here is somebody posted a music video, and I wanted to check it out. Some band, whatever. So I went in there to check it out, and to begin with was this.
She's got her mom so it's okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
She might want some coffee, David.
Yeah, she probably wants some coffee. Well, actually, she makes coffee, so she doesn't drink it, but she's a very good barista. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, what's the difference between a barista and a bartender? That's a joke, because I know. It was, you know how they open up with like an ad, and you can click off or you can watch it. Well, this one caught my attention because it was black and white. I think it was black and white. Yeah, it was black and white. It was very high quality. Very high quality. And it was about how the coronavirus, COVID-19, was made by the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. And it was designed to kill their enemies. Okay.
Right.
So I'm looking at, so I just let it go because I'm looking at it because it's a really expensive thing. And this was made by Epoch Times, which is a right-wing Chinese American newspaper,
right?
Which is like Falun Gong, and they are huge Trump supporters,
right? And they're advertising constantly.
Yes, and this is their thing that they're pushing, which is and Trump's been calling it the Chinese virus, and I'm thinking, okay, how did America get out of the Depression in the 30s? Oh, that's right, World War II. That's right. So if this goes on long enough and we actually get a depression rather than just a recession, how do we get out of it? Oh, maybe we could go to war with China. Whole different ballgame. Okay, completely different ballgame. But I began to kind of wonder if this kind of crazy, lunatic baiting sort of thing wasn't building up on purpose. I mean, it's a completely off the wall theory to throw out there. I mean, it really is. You would only do it if you had a reason, if you wanted to get something.
Well,
that's
if you're trying to
spend a lot of money,
if you want to somehow distract attention in a very big way, I suppose that would be a way to do it. But I mean, maybe it would be years down the road after bailing out the society. I mean, that's what happened, at least in the 30s. It was years after, the hungry were being fed before they were convinced that it was a good idea to go join the war. And,
right.
But I don't know. It's unknowable, I suppose. But what I often think about is Trump just kind of flying by the seat of his pants, or does he have some kind of a plan, like a really nasty, evil plan, but some kind of a plan? I have no idea. But
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think
it's mix of both. Huh?
Yeah, I think he's flying by the seat of his pants, and I think he would like to just kind of like keep getting elected. He's impressed by people that don't have to leave office. He likes that. Man. But again, I don't know. I can't predict the future. But anyway, back to the music and all that kind of stuff. Because, I can't read, I don't know, crystal balls and stuff. I can't do that.
No, but
play out.
But it is I mean, well, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. People have so many different reactions to a crisis. And this is this kind of pandemic situation is a crisis that none of us have lived through, right? So no. I don't know. I mean, it's people often would ask me if Trump's presidency was inspiring for songs, and for me it has not been at all. Like I mean, it's been really depressing and not particularly inspiring. But the pandemic, on the other hand, I've already written 11 songs about it, and in just the past 2 months or less. So, yeah, I mean, I never know what's going to, but the thing is, what's going to do that. But for me, it's been like just trying to think about how this whole situation is impacting so many different people in so many different situations around the world. There's a lot of different songs on that. And then reading about 1918, I had to write a song about that one. Right. So, yeah. And then the possibility that this could result in the ruling class realizing that things like housing, food, and healthcare are necessities for everybody on the planet to have for their own well-being as well. Right, that's right. That possibility that we're in this together and that the ruling class is going to figure that out is just overwhelmingly amazing if that could happen. But then, of course, the alternative that you're talking about, like a war with China, is also seems at least as likely as, you know. So, but which way things will go, it's just I have no idea. And you know, the World War II and World War I were also not necessarily fated to happen exactly as they did. You know, there's a lot of unpredictable in that too, including in the whole, you know, rise to power of Hitler in the first place. But now here we are. We've got our fascist government already in power now. Right. So we're kind of where Germany was in 1933 in some sense, but then again, we're also kind of where the U.S. was in 1931 in other ways, you know. So it's like there is no exact historical parallel, but there are many.
Does not repeat. It does not repeat. It might reflect in some ways, but I don't think it repeats. You remember right away when Trump got, I always want to say when Trump got arrested, when Trump got elected.
That's a nice foreshadowing of hopefully the near future. Who knows?
Intentional slip of the tongue. Right away, he started pulling his shenanigans, you know, with climate change and all that kind of stuff. And certain states, specifically on the left coast, like remember California, I'm originally from California, and there's a little bit of me that gets all excited and says, yes, California. They basically told him to fuck off. You know, and he said, well, I'm going to withhold the federal tax money. No, not tax money. I'm going to withhold the federal grants or whatever. And they said, okay, well, then we're not going to give you any tax money anymore. We take that back. And this thing happened where it was kind of like, it was a mild civil war almost kind of thing. Like, you know, it was a resistance thing. It was very interesting. And that's still going on and still going on in some of those same states in the same sort of a ways. You know, our governor here is the guy that, you know, Trump refers to as a snake. He's a snake because, I don't know, we talked back to him or something. Trump's got really thin skin, you know.
It's a popular term to call people snakes these days. I don't know why.
Biblical. Yeah.
But it's to me this whole sort of resistance thing with these governors, these Democratic governors of places like New York and all the West Coast states. It's like at the same time, as you know, living there in Seattle as one who has written possibly as many or more songs related to bad landlords as I have. There's you know, we're living in these states with good Democratic governors, which are some of the most expensive places in the world to live in. So it's and which have outrageously horrendous problems with people who don't have anywhere to live, and of course, you know, Trump wants to blame them for that problem, but of course it's a bigger problem than either party, of course. But it would be a weird secession, a secession led by real estate developers against an even bigger real estate developer. Right.
I don't know.
I don't think it's a
secession anyway. It's like a power struggle. It's a power struggle.
Yeah.
Interesting times to live in.
Yeah.
You know,
Did you know that the average Democrat in Congress is richer than the average Republican?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I wrote 9 songs about Trump.
Ah, wow. Yeah.
There's only a couple of them that I still do. Because, you know, for a while they wound up being like exercises in lyrical insults.
Yeah.
You know, things that you can sing to make you feel good when you sing them, you know, creatively insulting this character.
But if they're incisive enough, it's wonderful. And have you sung these songs at many rallies against Trump?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Election?
Yeah. But I mean, I wrote so many of them, and some of them I never learned them well enough to be able to sing them on a piece of paper there. You know, I didn't just automatically add them into a concert because, you know, people don't want to come there and listen to songs about the guy that they can't stand.
They're hearing him all the time, right? It's all the time. It's Trump all the time anyway.
Yeah, right. Trump all the time anyway. So I finally, the last one was kind of it. I started playing around with another one but no, man, stop. I just slapped myself in the hand. We need something different. I need something different than that. I don't know.
You got any particular thing that you want to do once it's possible to be among groups of people again? Any particular activity you're planning on?
Yeah, record. I want to record and I want to start touring again. I want to start playing out in front. And I want to see if, you know, I think we're better than we're allowed to believe. And I think that if anything else, this will teach us what matters and what doesn't matter. And I think that when this is all over, enough of us, I'm hoping enough of us, will have gotten that lesson, have gotten that bit, that we can like actively begin to reorganize ourselves in ways that are more humane, So I'd like to be a singer on the scene and a recording artist on the scene in a world that is more humane. That's what I would like, whatever form that takes. I don't expect miracles. I don't believe in light switches. There's no great light switch in the sky. There's no great light switch that any of us have access to. It's very much an evolutionary political thing. And I would just like to see some change in what I call the right direction. I really would.
Somebody in Iowa is wondering if you've listened to the latest 18-minute Dylan song that he released.
Yes. The one about Kennedy?
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Yes.
And what did you think of it? I still haven't heard it.
Oh, it's, not much. I think it's a little over. I think it's fun. It's like an exercise. It's like he was giving himself an exercise, how he could, put all these parts together and show a continuity and a connection. And yeah, that's totally fine. But, Dylan is I don't want to go there. It's okay. It's what it is. He is what he is. He's a very important cultural icon. He's been on the scene for a long time. And, whatever he wants to record and get heard, he can record and it will get heard.
Yeah.
I can't do that. You can't do that.
No.
So, it's like, have you heard it? Of course. How could you not? It's like, did you see Tuesday? Yes, I saw Tuesday. It's like that.
Yeah, right.
So,
And speaking of Tuesday, remind us before we go, your live streams are Mondays and Thursdays, right?
Mondays and Thursdays. Monday at noon.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday at 5. Yeah.
And just look for Seattle Jim Page on Facebook and you can find Jim's Facebook page.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's where it is. I'm going to try YouTube. I'm going to try doing it on. Have you streamed on YouTube?
Yeah, it's actually, I for this broadcast and for basically everything I'm doing these days, there's StreamYard and Restream are two different platforms where you can stream on multiple, like on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter at the same time, which is what we're doing right now.
Okay.
And it's a paid service, but it's really handy. And if you got followers on all these different platforms, you might as well broadcast on all of them at the same time, That's what I figure.
How's the quality? I'm told that music doesn't sound very good on this platform.
I think compression is a problem on all of the streaming platforms, but it's not so much about the platforms themselves as about the quality of all the various connections involved. There's so many different connections involved, but you can record on this platform. Like if you're broadcasting, say from your living room, you can also record on this platform at the same time. And the recording you make will not be compressed. So whatever you put up afterwards will be a much better version of what you just did that was streamed. But
okay.
Yeah. Plugging in makes a big difference. Plugging into a broadband connection, not using Wi-Fi, using good mic and a computer with decent speed. And then, but then you're still going to have the problem of everybody else's connection, however they're listening. Because,
Right. All right. Well, I'm lazy and Facebook is easy. But I want the thing about YouTube that it entices me is that you don't have to join anything.
Right.
I mean, you can't hear the Facebook stuff unless you have a Facebook account.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, it's very easy to start one, but some people, like my mother, are in principle wouldn't do it. So yeah.
Oh, I know. People just exactly like that. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Whatever.
Yeah.
So whatever. Anyway,
Jim, thank you so much for joining me and whoever else was watching.
I enjoyed it. I know a lot of it didn't make any sense. It was rambling, but
it was perfect. Made perfect sense. The thing about rambling is that, like, when you're a songwriter, you're used to rambling, and then you start singing a song. So it doesn't matter if you wrap it up with a point at the end, right? And
exactly.
I know it's a bit different in this context, but yeah, it's okay. you made great sense.
Good.
See you soon, I hope. Take care.
See you, man. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this little discussion with Jim Page. Check out his weekly Thursday live stream sessions and Monday sessions by looking up Seattle Jim Page on Facebook. His website is jimpage.net, and you'll also find a whole bunch of his music on Spotify and YouTube and such. Tomorrow, I'll be talking with Food Not Bombs founder Keith McHenry. If you want to support my work as a musician in times of pandemic or not, please go to davidrovics.com/subscribe or patreon.com/davidrovics. Keep on keeping on. Hope to see you again soon here in the Matrix and in the not too distant future in the streets.